Welcome to Past, Present, Future, the Full Circle podcast, where we ask questions that nobody else wants to ask, but that you want the answers to. Please subscribe, share, and drop a comment so we know you were there. Episode 25, Past, Present, Future. So really excited, actually. The last episode you would have watched or listened to was with our first ever producer. Today we have our first ever photographer. So we have Zek Snaps in the building.
What's good?
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
I'd like to go through, obviously, the typical past, present, future journey and tap into the depths. But before we do, I guess the minority of people that be listening or watching this, I'd love to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, what you do.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I mean, by who I am, so I go by the name of Zek. My alias photographer's name is Zek Snaps, which a lot of people in the photography and music industry know who I am. British-born Iraqi citizen, born and raised in Ilford. So an area between East London and Greater London of Essex, I would say. So borderline. Only one of my family who was actually born in the UK. Both my mum and dad came here in 1990 as asylum seekers from the Iraq War. So very treacherous, very high mental, destabilized mindset they've had to come through and to battle through in terms of facing a lot of barriers. Even till this day, it's still a lot of challenge that then puts pressure on myself as well to sustain, because we come from a background where obviously our country's full of history, full of like great enthusiasts, people of intelligence, people of culture, but obviously now the way everything's just been desanitized, it's because of how the media and a lot of more things have, generalized our country to be. So yeah, 27 years old, love photography. Obviously that's my go-to passion. Music industry I started in. Music's my first love of what I've started in photography. So now doing fashion, editorial, sports and commercial. But yeah, that's it really. And obviously other things I love to do part-time. Gym freak. Anime is another thing I love watching. A lot of people don't know TV and films. So Salvador Dali, Alfred Hitchcock and David Lynch. I would say my top 3 inspirations that actually got me into photography, which is quite an interesting factor, which we'll get into.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots going on.
Yeah.
There's lots going on. But to tap into it and to go back to, I guess, the very beginning from your perspective, not your family's perspective, but was Ilford, you mentioned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how would you summarise growing up in Ilford for someone that's not familiar?
Well, Ilford probably was one of the most highest active criminal areas back in East London / Essex, alongside Barking and Dagenham, I would say. And certain other parts of that Essex IG postcode, let's just say, so like, Hainault, Newbury Park, other interlined areas that were connected between the roots of those type of areas. So Ilford was very multicultural, still is very, very Asian, African dominated area, full of that rich history between both cultures, to obviously submerge into Pakistanis, Indians, Afghans, to like Congolese people, Jamaicans, and a few Nigerians and other races. Probably I was only like one of the only 10% Arab people living in that community.
Really?
Which is quite interesting, because obviously now I live in probably one of the most dominated Arab areas, which is Edgware Road. So I live in in between Lisson Grove and Church Street, which is like Arab Kurdish dominated compared to like where I was born and raised.
You said 10%, so 10% would be the minority in that situation.
Yeah.
How were you treated as the minority?
Oh, respected very, very well. And I think it was a great society to be in, because I think from a young age, especially I grew up with a lot of Black and Asian people. I think it was key for me to really understand both of their cultures and heritage of what the cultural roots they are from. And I think me being in an Afrocentric Caribbean industry, especially with the music scene, it was key for me to be learning these things from a young age about their culture, the essence of their roots, but as well who they are and what they stand for. And I think for me, I've always been very, very welcome to that community, always been welcomed with great arms, positive factors, and both my mum and dad taught me from a young age to, be respectful, be very, very commendable with who you are, let them know about your roots and understand their roots type of thing. But as well, it's a great thing because, fun fact, when my dad was in the army back in Iraq against Saddam, one of his best mates was a Afro-Iraqi guy called Hamza, who actually, he told me a story where he got racially abused within the army a lot of times because he was probably like one of the only Afrocentric Iraqis born and raised in Iraq that was in the army against Saddam. And one time my dad told me a story where they all laughed at this guy, were racially like slurring him off, calling him names. And one time my dad picked up a gun nearby and he pointed at all of them saying, is this you guys what you're truly representing our country to be? These are probably our first ancestry people that were born and raised within our ancestors. Why disrespecting these people? They are our people, like how we have to treat them as our people. And my dad says, if anyone wants to laugh at him, laugh at me and point the guns at me. He's like my brother and I will die for him.
Why do you think your dad told you that story?
I think it's key because I think reason why is because, as I said, he comes from, in the Middle East at the moment, the Middle East is very, how should I say, it's very true to its identity. They're proud people of their essence and they're very proud of their heritage. But the problem is because of how the Middle East is now whitewashed, but with a lot of like senses of capitalism and imperialism now involved to their past history from like the days of the Islamic wars with the Crusaders and stuff. I think now they're very like, how should I say, very true to their identity, let's just say. They don't really like to, how should I say, submerge with other people from other communities, unless if it's, let's just say Yemen. Yemen, I would say, is the best example. Yemen, obviously the North African countries, they're different because obviously a lot of the people from like tribal communities came from there. A lot of people from the Moors, people from the Berber tribes, all were from North Africa. And obviously Iraq and Yemen, I think they had a lot of like Africans that then descended into our country. But Yemen was probably the first one in the Middle East because that's where originally Queen of Sheba was from. She's Ethiopian something descendant of Africa. I can't remember exactly, but she's East African descendant and she was the Queen of Yemen. So I think my dad taught me that from a young age because he told me, look, in this day of era, racism is a big thing, especially my community. I'm not proud of how my communities turned out to be and how they've become so ignorant. But I'm telling you this now because we're in a country where we've been enslaved by people from this country that have taken us and brought us here. So we need to understand that bringing our culture to other people's cultures and respecting one another is a key thing. And I think that's why he told me it from a young age. And obviously being Muslim as well is a big thing for us. And obviously we had to respect a lot of different religions because Iraq was a religious-centric country, not just for Muslims, but for Jewish people and Christians, or as we call the Assyrian people. So for me, it was important to learn these roots from a young age, rather than when I used to watch the news and seeing Iraq as a country of terrorism. There's more to what it was and truly identified as a country of history and culture. Same with like Africa as a continent. Same with like other countries in Asia, even like countries in Eastern Europe and, you know, the countries within the Balkan states. They have a lot of history in essence that we don't get taught from a young age. And I think that's why it was important for my dad to have the discussion.
But also while your brain's malleable, right? Because if you have that discussion once you've already been imprinted for like 18 years of your life, it's not worthless, but it's worth less. So having that conversation when you are at kind of a malleable age, I think is really important. It's clearly kind of come through to where you are today as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think it's key because the education system in our country, or let's just say the capitalist country, they don't really project real pathways for people from ethnic communities to really push them to like what they truly want to do in the educational system. So like example, they will teach you history about Henry VIII, the Tudors, stuff about Napoleon, all of these things, which I don't mind. History is history for me, and I would love to learn about every culture. But where is it that we don't speak about things like Babylon? Where there was the things we don't speak about the Kingdom of Kemet? Where's the things about we don't speak about other things that are true to the history of what culture really represents within both the agriculture of those countries, but as well as the geographical states of what these countries brought into influence within the Europe and other states of continents. So it's key for me, and I think it doesn't take long to really learn something that's valuable to your roots.
Definitely. It's really interesting. I'm just thinking and kind of thinking out loud to be transparent. And when it seems like you're tapping into and analysing your past, so your childhood, you find a lot of holes in it, particularly within the education system. But
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of ask you, when you look back on your childhood, how do you feel about it? Do you feel happy about it? Do you feel, I guess, sad about it? What are your feelings towards your childhood?
I think it was mentally challenging. I think I was living a free life quite often, but I think because I didn't really achieve well my GCSEs, and I failed my GCSEs at 16, and being from a strict family where they want you to become a lawyer, they want you to become a doctor or whatsoever, the only things that I prioritized back then in my mind was sports. Sports was a big thing for me. So I used to play a lot of football. I used to play a lot of like rugby as well. I used to do a lot of fitness from a young age, and it was an important factor for me because I think then it played a bigger role into my life today, which obviously I will expand on, due to the fact that both my mum and dad have a lot of serious illnesses and conditions that they're underlined with. But for me, I think was super important how I look back at my past. Especially there was one moment which I think really circled around my mental health till this day, which was I went to Iraq back when I was 4 years old. So my mum and dad had to go back due to them sorting out something with their asylum documents and stuff. They took me for the first time while the war was still going on. And during that time, all I remember when I was 4 years old, I witnessed my uncle got killed in a bomb attack, in a bomb collision between I think it was the Iranians and the Iraqi general forces. I don't remember anything as a kid, but what I remember my mum telling me, because obviously that's her brother, that's her blood brother. So all I remember, she told me this when I was 17. She kept it away from me for a long time because she didn't want me to really know any truths within that circumstance. So what she told me was, I remember it was her and her brother, they were arguing about who's going to go to the grocery store. Who's going to go to where? My uncle denied her going to the grocery store because he said to her, look, you've got two daughters and you've got a very young son. If anything happens, I don't want you to go and something happens to you. And this is her second youngest brother that she really trusted within her family. Until now, the rest of her family, she don't really talk with no more. All separated, all like she fell out with due to like certain political things that just happened within like, cultural boundaries. But she really trusted her brother to bits. And I remember they were arguing, and he told my dad, hold her back, don't let her go. So he drove off while I was like running around, I think as a child, my mum was saying. All I remember was massive bomb explosion. I felt the full force of like how the way it just caused like a magnitude of like pure force. It felt like an earthquake. And then like the whole ground was rumbling, shaking. And then all I remember, my dad picked me up, ran into the house, and then covered everyone, both myself, my two sisters, and my mum. And all I remember, they were just praying to like saying, Ya Allah, please save us, blah, 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 please save us, all of this, all of that. That's what my mum told me. And then 3 days after, when the whole thing happened, my uncle didn't come back. And then on the 5th day of reporting, they found his body in the center point of Baghdad. That for me killed my mum and dad, especially my mum. Till this day, she suffers severe PTSD. Like she doesn't even know half of her past. Every time something bad happens within her past or something bad happens within like situations between my siblings, she feels like she's to be blamed for everything. And the same with my dad as well. It feels like within themselves, even though they've done the best option, which was bring us to the UK, and obviously lucky I was born here, they still feel a lot of guilt within themselves. And it still, till this day, troubles their mindset. And psychologically, it has affected me in many ways because when I got told at the age of 17 about this, I didn't know how to feel about it. I was just a confused boy at the moment, like a young teenager / soon to be adult, going into that age, prioritizing life. Someone who just failed GCSEs and we moved to Edgware Road. And I was retaking my English and maths and doing BTEC level 2 media. I didn't know how to take it at first. It was pretty fine for I would say when I was 18, 19 and 20. But then as soon as I hit uni and I started my photography career and the doubts came in from my mum and dad on why am I doing photography, everything just circled. And that's where I think a lot of the barriers came in within my mental health.
And when you say mental health, what would you say the depths of your mental health looked like?
So it was very elusive. It was like elusive hell. It was just so much good things happen, and then one bad thing just comes to situations where I've seen like so much things, like I said, but the past, seen a lot of, people in my area I grew up with, they've either gone to jail or they've either been stabbed or killed to death, and a lot of them didn't make it. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate because a lot of them, when you're around that type of society, you're in a rough council state, let's just say, and you grew up in those type of environments. It's that survival of the fittest. You have to teach yourself the essence of how do you survive in those environments? Are your parents doing enough for you to do what they can do best? I lived in a society where there was a lot of single mothers. There was a lot of families together and communities of like togetherness and unity, but at the same time, it was a dog-eat-dog world in that state because everyone was trying to make money somehow, some way to survive. Whether it's something illegal or legal, everyone do it. But I've always been thankful to my mum and dad because they never got me into that life. But one thing I can always thank my elders, especially one of my guys called Videra, who goes by the alias name of Python, who's one of the founders of Black Box TV. So big shout out to Python. He used to look out for me a lot. He used to always keep an eye on me. He used to always, keep an eye in check. And his younger brother, Samson, who's a really good friend, they always used to make sure I was good. Everyone used to do this and that. And it's crazy, like, when I spoke to Videra, like, 4 years ago, how things have just changed and everything's just gone to this and that. And everything's just changed within everyone's circumstances in terms of the life of living they go through. And to where it is now, it's affected a lot of our mental health. It's affected to be who we are. And we've had to mature, we had to grow, but as well know how to battle the inner demons within us, even till this day. Like, people look at me and say to me, Zek, you're living a sick lifestyle, bro. You're living everywhere. You're at this festival, you're backstage at this place, you're out there, you're here. But no one knows, as much as I get happy, I do my job and I, mission accomplished, and I go back home and do my thing, I'm still going back to near the council estate that I live in, nearby. Same old day, you look forward to the next one. It's reality at the end of the day. But I've had to really grow into it and understand, to become the person I have to become today, I have to really face these challenges. And quote unquote, from one of the greatest Chinese strategists of all time, Zhuge Liang, he said, do the unexpected, you attack the unprepared. Things in life we always like to prepare for, which is fine. It's a normal human trait to be prepared. Preparation is a big thing. It's a big skill to have in general, that an organization. But sometimes when you majorly prepare too much, it doesn't go to plan. When you when you attack the unexpected in that way, people will be shocked. People will be like, yo, how the hell did you do this? But then it will give you some new source of accomplishments. Drake's a great example of that. Drake will come out of nowhere, drop an album, and he does the unexpected and goes #1. Because no one knew how much he in his own world, he's prepared, but no one knows how he's going to attack the unprepared, which is his audience, which is the market distribution people within the music industry, as well his distributors. That's why I always exemplify Drake to be that person, because he's been there, he's done that, and he always comes unexpectedly out of nowhere to drop something great and it goes #1. This is the type of mentality I follow by. And I think it's key. Follow what you know within your desires that pushes you to go ahead in life. And therefore, this is why I started photography as my journey.
Quick one. Our sponsor, the 1994 Collective, are experts in PR and radio plugging. If you're an upcoming urban artist seeking airtime and to scale your audience, drop them a message and let them know we sent you. I want to go into that, but within that answer, you said, when you were specifically talking about mental health, you said, I still need to learn how to battle my demons.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask you about that. And unfortunately, I say this quite often on this podcast, but mental health issues is not a unique problem. I think everyone goes through it to some capacity. So I wanted to ask you, because you said I needed to learn how to battle my demons. What is your methodology?
I think gym has saved my life many, many times. I think that, and picking up a camera. I swear to you, if I didn't pick up the camera from the get-go from 2015 to obviously finishing BTEC Level 3 Media on City Westminster College, to then go to uni and studying BA Film Studies and doing photography, between picking up the camera was probably the greatest choice life has ever given to me. And I think it gave me a lot of escapism to really then go out there, explore the world, see what the world gives to you, and really use the definition of that the world is your oyster, which it totally is. And I think for me, the fact I picked it up as a hobby first to then make me travel around 35 countries till this day, 35 plus countries, seeing works all over global countries around for billboards, you know, album covers, mixtape covers, Spotify, Apple playlist covers, to magazine front covers, print issue photo shoots, all of these things to like major campaigns and that. Working with brands I grew up to, like the likes of Nike, Adidas, Puma, who else as well have I worked with? So much other people. Like the other day on Monday, I done something with Bicester Village for Mission State magazine for their birthday dinner, which was, fun fact, I remember I went to Bicester Village one time, and then one of my boys back in college, because I was so broke, he got me to do AC scamming one day. And I went to Bicester Village with 2K in my hand, spent so much money on Ralph Lauren polos, True Religion jeans, and Gucci belts and that, stupidly, without not thinking that time that my career was going to start off in that positively. And all I remember was police one day came to my house, knocked on my door, and obviously investigated. Luckily, they found no evidence because my friend, he wiped off all the cards, he broke them down, and he dashed them all the way. And luckily, that was cleared, but it was a clear warning. Something said to me, I have to change it. That was basically last resort. So in that sense, it was still shown to me, battling so much inner demons within myself, even till this day, proving my mum and dad wrong. Why I can make a photography a career where I can make money and revenue and really turn it into a passionate career. Till this day, I've proved them a lot of things. Even till this day, they say to me, I've had people say, oh, you can't really go far because you only do this and that. I keep proving people wrong. Reason why is because rejection and no's are two things I always look beyond its actual wording as an acronym. So with no, people take it to heart, but what I reverse no as is next opportunity. So I reverse it to the positive. And I think learning that and even looking at things that life will tell you that this wasn't made for you at the right moment, it really does tell you it wasn't really for you at that moment. Because there will always be something bigger and better to come if you manifest that and you put that into your life. That's why I think now, me being in this place where balancing my mental health in a better place, but still learning how to battle things, is still a challenge. But at the same time, the gym, I think especially, is a great place because not only I do heavyweight lifting and training, and obviously I do a lot of like serious training, but I think a great example why gym is such a great thing for me is because not only it helps you battle with your mental psychosis, but when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like you're battling your own alter ego. Your alter ego is telling you, you can't break this new rep personal best of this, let's just say 200 kilo deadlift. You can't do one rep. And then when you actually say no to that alter ego and you accomplish it, you feel like a whole different person. That's how I see myself in the gym. That's what I compare the gym to, is battling your alter ego / your inner demons that are telling you you can't go far. That's what my personification of the gym is.
And you said within the beginning of that answer, you said a combination of the gym and picking up a camera saved your life more than once over.
Yep.
How close were you to ending it?
Yeah, let's go deep with this because I feel only certain people know this, but 2019, I think it was a very, very tough year. Well, it was a great year, but it was a tough year. Cadet, who I started with, one of my first people who I had an opportunity to work with, he gave me one of my first ever behind the scenes music video opportunity, which was for Slut. I met Cadet first time at Cafe 101 when he just came back into music. I remember listening to Ket back in the day when he was obviously part of the whole Gypsy Hill crew with, he's, with Krypton Conan, Weez, who else as well?
Younger.
Yeah, Younger and Reds, all of these people. And I remember the whole Gypsy Hill collective. And obviously, I remember one time he came in, Cafe 101, he was only doing like back-to-back Grammys and he held it down. Got like 7, 8 reloads. And then I was like, get there, like singing. And then I remember taking some pictures of him. And then I went up to him and I said to him, bro, like, I just want to show you something. And then he's like, yo, this is sick, blah, 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 this and that. And then straight after that whole thing happened, he took my Instagram, I posted it up. He's like, bro, what do you call it? I love these images. Let's do some stuff together or keep in contact. So around end of 2015, I think it was just, between 2015, he said to me he's got the video shoot for Slut, which obviously went viral when he done the OSM freestyle. So he was like to me, bro, I'm doing it at Fulham Broadway in some health centre. They gave me a space, come through. That's where I met Caleb Dennis, very talented videographer. Met Caleb there. And I met, the people from Link Up TV that time. So I think shout out Joey Clips. I think Joey was there. And I think Rashid was there. So big shout out to Rashid and Joey, because obviously till this day, they've always looked out for me for opportunities. So I remember like working around with that time and just seeing Cadet and obviously speaking to him. It was just real life because obviously he went through a lot of stuff with mental health as well. He's a big, big speaker about mental health. Obviously his stuff with his dad, where his dad went through rehab, and obviously his stuff with his mum, and obviously what he went through, the whole back in the day where he used to do the whole gang life thing and that, and just, resembles why he wants to get back into music, because he feels like he can really prove himself to be who he can be as Cadet. So 2019, I think the whole UK was shocked. His death came out of nowhere. I remember reading and I was thinking, he's probably done a new song or something. This can't be true. Then I just read everything, and then as soon as Krept posted it, I don't know, I felt like a glass just breaking down. I didn't know how to react. I didn't feel human again. I feel everything was just evaporating away from me. And then I couldn't really go through it. And then we went to his memorial in Hyde Park. That was beautiful. Got to meet his mum, got to meet his dad, got to meet his sister, his cousin, and obviously his nephews and that. And yeah, we're just speaking, and then a lot of things were going through, and then obviously they done the Bricks and O2 Academy show. That was going through my head. And then around, I would say, May and June, a lot of jobs were not coming through. It was pretty quiet. I was then battling through myself to say, how am I going to kind of like push myself to get back into it? What's going on? Like, why is everything all of a sudden quiet? So 5 days after my 25th birthday, I nearly committed suicide. It was actual real life situation. Like, it's mad because even till this day, I've still kept the convo of like, where I said my agent, Christian, I thought of with like me holding a butcher knife, and I'll say to them, it was nice knowing you, bro. Thank you for everything. And then he was like, yo, don't do this. What are you doing? Type of thing. And blah, blah, blah. I remember I think my mum was in A&E with my sister, and my dad was just sorting out some stuff to get back from my mum, like her medication, like he was getting some medicines on that. Obviously, they didn't know I was going through these things. Somehow, somewhere, my manager got hold of my sister's number, got through to my sister, and then she got hold of my dad. And then all I remember, I picked up the knife. I was shaking like this. Everything in my mind was going blank. Tears were coming down. And I was just praying to God, saying like, God, like, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, all of these things. I didn't know what to say. Like, I was just trying to find a last minute solution. I don't know if God answered my prayers or whatsoever. All I remember, my dad smashed the house door down, ran into the kitchen, rugby tackled me down, saved my life. I don't know how like, I don't know how or what, but my manager told me he got hold of him because through my sister. And my manager, they came in the next morning, and my friend as well. They came to check me. And then I remember I was going through a lot of my friends, a lot of my people, like just checking on me, seeing what's good. And then obviously it was real life. Like that was probably the one time things got really real. And it was just like a guy who's having such a bright career, whose name's getting expanded in the industry, well known, all of a sudden battling a dark, treacherous place full of dark shadows and things that's eluded in his mind that he's trying to get rid of, which everyone goes through. And I always say to people, and I always tell people, stop letting the perception of social media deceive what you see from people. You don't know what people really go through. But I'm telling you now, the most happiest looking people with their biggest smiles on their faces always turn out to have the biggest battles in their life. But people don't want to see that. It's because people are perceived to see things differently what social media shows them and, perceives them to see in that picture. That's why for me, I don't really post much on my stories or Instagram, because I just take my time. I know when I need to go post, I'll post it. And if I need to check things, I'll check it. And that's it. And I think for me, that was probably the maddest experience I've ever had. Crazy, crazy experience, because I didn't know how to tell my mum and dad. Like, my mum and dad didn't really know much. Every time I tried to speak to them about mental health, they'll brush it away. Especially my dad, being from like this alpha, instinctive background as an ex-soldier. Obviously, brushing it away, you should man up and blah, blah, blah. But then when I was going through therapy, blessings to my sister, because she actually got one of her good friends, my therapist called Sarah Hayati. She's like really, really dope therapist that I got to see in King's Cross. I went through her for 7 to 8 weeks and then for nearly a year. And she went through me, and then obviously my sister got me a discounted price and everything. So I went to see her. And before I was going through the term of like therapy and I'll just say mental rehab, let's just say. That's how I saw it. One day my dad came into my bedroom, and then he was like, "Son, I want to speak to you about something." I was like, "What's up?" "I'm going to tell you about my story, what I went through. I feel like you need to know this because I feel like I've been ignorant and really stupid to not tell you what I went through in my life." Told me about everything. It was real deep.
How did you feel in that moment?
It's crazy because I've never seen my dad cry as a man, like man to man. I've never seen him cry. Like, it's actually mad seeing him cry, seeing him where he came from, like really seeing like who he was as a human being. I've always seen him as like the big man in my family, the guy that everyone in my mum's family was scared of, because they really feared him. Like, this guy and my uncles are all madmen. Like, they were normal human beings, like deeply good-hearted people. Like, every time people meet my dad, like my mates, he's one of the most nicest guys ever, but he's got a firm handshake. I'm like, yeah, that's my dad for you. I'm like, he's one of the nicest people, but he's one of the most woke people. Like,
how much of that emotion that he showed in that moment to you do you think was missing from the entirety of your childhood?
Quite a lot. And I think it's the same to my mum, but I think with my mum it's interesting because she used to go to a lot of therapy sessions, through the NHS. So she went to Woodfield Trauma Centre, which is in Wood Lane. So I never used to take her. Before I started to do more caring for her, before my second oldest sister got married, my sister used to take her to her appointments back, I would say, from like 2013 to like 2016, 17 and 18. And obviously after when my sister got married, obviously my mum then, I took her for bit by bit. And then, yeah, just seeing like my mum go through it and just sitting down with a therapist and speaking to other people within her native language and that. it really made me feel something in that way where I think I needed to experience it now rather than just like from a young age. But for some weird reason, I think it came in the perfect time, just how things were. And I had to learn it and I had to really, really like take a lot of things in. And even till this day, like my mum still goes through so much things, likewise, and my dad. It's just how they've kept themselves to this day and how they kept themselves solid and strong. My dad being 72 years old
Mm.
and my mum being at the age of 56. Like, it's actually crazy how both of them have stood in their 2 feet till this day, standing firm and strong.
Mm.
It's just crazy. And I think for me to have that at an age where I was going into an adult and maturing as an adult, it was, for me, it was kind of a slap in the face because I kind of wish I had it from a young age to kind of know that about these things. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that they came to reality and got to see like they're not your typical ethical parents that, you know, if you have mental health problems from a young age, they don't give a damn about it. Like, they actually came to the sense of realization and related their problems or their mental health to mine, but in a positive factor of what I can learn from them, what they went through, even till this day, what they still go through. And for me, I think that was probably very decisive from them. And I think I have to give them a lot of credit for that. They could have never done that for me and they could have just left it as that.
Mm.
But I'm happy for what they've done. And I'm happy now they fully support me on my journey and they really appreciate what I've done for them. I look after both of them. I pay for their bills. I take care of them now. And the fact, even now till this day, I can do that makes me happy more than ever. The fact they saw a boy from their family tree pick up a freaking camera and said, my son can't make money from photography. What's photography? What's this and that? So now actually seeing, you know what? He actually loves what he does.
Mm.
And he's not like his two sisters who got used by a lot of people in the wrong way and they fell into mad situations and mad moments. Like, he's smarter than what we thought to be. And I love that because I proved them wrong in many senses.
Mm.
And I love proving people wrong.
Mm.
That's just within my sense of who I am as a character. In order to win people and to make people aware of you, who you are, who doubt you, you have to prove them wrong.
Mm.
Your capabilities of your talent and your skills shows who you are as a person. And it really defines your characteristics in many ways. So that's what I had to showcase them. But for me to do that, and the fact that, you know, I looked after them throughout the pandemic and, you know, got them to where they are and got them still to their day, take them to their doctor's appointments and stuff and look after them, even when I'm doing like crazy stuff back to back with my job, it's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing. I'm happy and it makes me feel proud that I can look after both my mum and dad. And even till this day, hopefully by God's grace, I can move them out at the end of the year to an official apartment.
Mm.
That's the aim. But there's a lot of things that I want to do with this photography goal that, you know, gives me, how should I say, a lot of drive to really achieve. And there's two things I really want to achieve by it.
Okay, so to tap into those two things, one of the things that you said first that I think would be really valuable to go into when you were saying about your parents, they were apprehensive that you could make this a real job, that you could make money out of photography. For like potentially upcoming photographers that want to get into this, how do you turn it from something that's like a hobby, going to a gig, taking a photo, into something that's a legitimate job?
Good question. And I think that is something quite well-rounded because I feel like there's so much avenues you can answer this question. But for me, I always go by 3 likes. Do not be scared to pick up a camera and really take it far in terms of if someone within your family tells you it's not a great choice of career, just don't listen to them. That's number 1, I would say. But at the same time, number 2, to get out there, know music artists or creatives in your local area from where you're from that you know that are doing good things, that are making positive impacts and bringing a lot of influence into their society and their community. Go document them. Go understand what they're doing. Show what the documentary is going to pursue, because once you document them and you go out there, you really show what people are around and who they are. through the power of documenting through content creation, it then opens their network to your network. And that's where the power of networking then comes in. How strategic are you as a networker? What do you value yourself to be as a networker? What is your UPS that makes you different to others? I think it's good to know your UPS from a very young at the start. Because if you don't know your UPS and you don't want to know how different you are, then I think then you realize later on it does become more difficult. But of course, it's not easy to know your aims and objectives from the start. Obviously, you'll treat it as a hobby. You'll have it as a fun fact, have it as a fun thing to like really just go enjoy and just really put a lot of time to yourself. But I think really define it in a way where if you see one moment that's a life-changing moment and it's an opportunity for you to really then optimize and see it as a way for you to change your life in a drastic positive factor, take that moment every day in, take it in within yourself and push yourself to that limit. Like example, when I met the Guap boys from Guap magazine, Ibrahim and Jide, when I had the opportunity to meet them at like one event in 2015 and I got to know them, when there were two boys working at their dad's local office back in Peckham to like what they're doing now. I remember one day, I think it was Ibrahim, called me one day, Zek, I got a front cover shoot I want you to do. I was like, who? And he's like, it's for Jay Huss. I was thinking, what? I was like, that's sick. I was like, but I swear Jay Huss is locked in and that. He's like, no, he's out. We want to be one of the first people to give him a front cover shoot. Are you down for it? I said, 100%. Let's go get it. After that shoot, when I went to go do that shoot, I realized, you know what? I could really go far in this. If I had an opportunity in my first, I would say nearly 6 months and a half when I took photography serious and actually doing a front cover shoot this early on my stage, why the hell can't I go into other things that can really push me to be how great I am? Who the hell Zek Snaps is as a photographer, but who the hell Zek Snaps stands for as the cultivator of people. Because that's what I'm about. I don't care about money. I don't care about fame. I don't care about popularity. Those things with you, they're not going to be with you when you die. Let's be factual and let's be honest. All these things are great, materialistic, humanistic things to have in your life. Cool, no problem. But I'm sorry, they don't forever make you happy and they forever do not make you satisfied with your life. And even as I said, the day you'll die, the size of your grave is going to be the same size as everyone's grave. That's a reality check. For me, I want to cultivate people. I want to cultivate people from my community, the Arrow community, and people from like other communities like the Afro-Caribbean community, the Asian community, the white community, people that came from deprived council estates, from, lower class societies within that sense of classism. I want them to pick up something within the creative industry and say to themselves, do you know what? You can actually go out there and break your boundaries and become your own creative person as well as a creative entrepreneur. And as soon as that J Huss shoot came, that really made me witness the capabilities I held within myself. That's what I want to be. I don't want to be this guy who just does it for the sake of shooting celebrities and that's that. I'm a man who found it because I love artistry. I love creativity. I want to keep communities alive and I want to cultivate people to beyond their expectation levels. But as well, make people remind how they can be the greatest person they've ever become on earth within their own selves. That's how I see myself to be objectifying my aims. That's why, as I said, the two things I really want to do. By next year or the year after, I want to be on the Forbes under 30s creatives list. First British Arab music photographer to be on that list, which no one's ever done. Being 27, I'm saying to myself, I think I'm really close to reach that aim. And the second aim is go back home to Iraq, open the first media school for 16 to 25-year-olds. That's goals I want to have. And I know for a fact, I will keep manifesting and I'll keep going. No matter how much people will stand in my way and tell me you can't do it, I will do it. You can't tell me otherwise. This is life. You live in a life where rejections and no's are going to come by. You're going to live in a life where, highly doubtful people are going to doubt you. That's life. Because if life didn't have that, if life didn't have those negative connotations, life would have been positively perfect. And perfection in life would have been a very ironic trait where all societies were perfect. And that for me would have been unbalanced. You need to have a balance between both the doubtfulness and the self-doubtness of what life brings to you. And how you can tell how can you tell that doubt into a win. That's what life's about. It has to have that cohesive balance between the two.
And when I asked you about childhood earlier, I said, like, what are your feelings towards it? Do you feel happy, sad? So in the same vein, when you think about your future and the things that you want to accomplish, the school, being on the Forbes under 30 creative list, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like apprehensive, or do you feel excited? What are your feelings towards the future?
Oh, I'm excited, 100%, because every year I've accomplished something crazy and different, and I've always made the something expectedly happen out of nothing. So I think for me, it's going to be continuously beautiful. I think beautiful both in a very dramatic way and a very positive way. Dramatic meaning new mental challenges, new negative ways of negativity trying to drain you down, new ways of how there's going to be other people that don't want to see you win. No problem. That's the normality. I'm excited because I know every time those doubts happen and people try to hold me back, I'm always going to evolve. I'm always going to, how should I say, one of my favorite words, metamorph into someone different, someone new, but keep the same old Zek as who he is. That's why I love it. For me, and I think this is an interesting thing, I always go by the profound understanding of silence. Silence for me is a big, big thing. So obviously me going back to my readings of history and that, there's a thing where I saw within these proverbs of like Japanese kings and queens where it says a ninja's best weapon is the silence of the shadows. That's how the art of ninjutsu is taught to ninjas to assassinate their targets under the shadows with silence. So for me, learning that, I keep myself silent under all times under the shadows to assassinate my targets. That's how I'm moving now. Before I used to be the boy that used to go on social media every time, post this and that. Oh, talk about, oh, this might happen. Oh, I might have this happen. But when it doesn't happen, I'm sorry, but you look like an absolute fool in front of your own audience. I'd rather me go quiet, stay silent, and work on the things when it 100% happen, then I execute it and show the world who I am. That's why for me, that whole thing about, the ninja's weapon using the silence of the shadows, that's how I am. That's how I move. I move incognito. That's for me how I become who I am in today's society. I'll still be at networking events. I'll still be at places, but I still move very, very introverted at times. Great at networking, someone who loves to speak to people and always socialize, but at the same time, go back to my shadows, be silent. And when I've met the right people at those events, I know that's the fact. Money will be in my pocket in the next few months or a year's time or the next few weeks, or I know whatever relationship I create with that person is going to be fantastic. That's the mentality I have now when I go to events. I don't go to every event because of the sake of going to every event because that person's going or that person's going. I go because I know the benefits I get from that and the advantages I get will benefit me in the long run, and it will benefit the other person in the long run. If I can help that person to achieve their goals and aims and they can achieve my goals and aims, then that's a good match made in heaven. This is how I see it.
It's an incredible point, and I think, to be honest, it's one that wraps things up absolutely perfectly. But before asking you, I said at the beginning about a nomination. I wanted to just quickly ask you, how have you found the experience?
As well, like just in speaking with you, man, I just want to say thank you, man. Like honestly, I think what I love about Discovery is you discover people's true identity of who they really are, rather than just seeing, as I said, you perceive them to be showing their characteristics on social media. And I think when you get to see the person in real life and speak to them one-to-one and you get to know them from their persona, I think it's a great, great platform to have. And I just want to say, like, what you're doing is really positive, and I want all of us to try, like, help you the best way we can possible, because I feel this platform is going to go really far. And I know for a fact, when a platform goes really far, I will come back to you in 5-10 years time. I'm going to be like to you, bro, remember that conversation we had on your podcast? Look where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it. Good-hearted people and good working people with hard-working characteristics and traits will always, always, always go to a high level. And I always say this. I just sense it from people's energies. That's who I am. If I sense someone's energy is really clean, but they have a really high-driven sense of adrenaline to go really far on what they love and what they cherish, I know for a fact they're going to go really far. And that's why for what you've done and what you've really brought people from different parts of the industry, it's beautiful. Like, I've seen you brought on people like Nathan, London, Chris Jammer, Henry. Like, these are people I've, always worked around with and always had the opportunity to be around with, especially someone like Nathan, who I see is like my family. Nathan's one of the first people I ever started with. So, like, just to relate to things that he said within these things, I think it's needed, because people I've worked with and know their real story, you give them that platform, and I just want to say thank you for that.
No, thank you, bro. Honestly, for being so open, it's been like incredibly inspirational. I have to be honest. This is one of the episodes that I'll be watching back more than once, just to take as many gems as I can. But so yeah, thank you. And
that's love, man.
Go into it to it off camera, but to ask you, so the all important nomination. Who do you nominate to sit across the table from me and have a similar conversation?
Jide and Ibrahim from Guap. 100%. They need to be on this. Either them or Skills and TK from Finesse Forever. That's another 2 shout I want to give out to, because those boys, what they've done in the community of Croydon and the way they've just brought up the music scene in a positive way and how they've tried to personify draw on positive factors, I think is just magnificent. And both of them, I would say 4 of them, the way they've been a solid representation of the black community as entrepreneurs. They need to have more spotlights on them. Need more spotlights. So I think them for 100% has to happen. So I think that has to happen. But I would say definitely one of them 4.
Okay, let's see if we can make it happen.
Let's see what we can do.
Love it. Right, thank you, bro. We'll sign off. But honestly, thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible.
Nah, appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much, man. Love and blessings for always.
Love it, bro.